Hi guys, now we are dealing a pharmacology topic, that is stomachichs and anti-stomachics. So, what are stomachics? They means drugs which increase functional activity of stomach by increasing gastric motility and secretion. So, actually, what is the functional activity of stomach? To produce hydrochloric acid and digest the foods and break down the particles and send them to intestine. Actually, that is the function of stomach. There are several functions, but the main function is that is breakdown of products, secretion of HCl, killing of other bacteria, etc. So, stomachics are drugs which increase these functions, or stomachics are given to enhance these functions. So, agents which promote the functional activity of stomach by increasing the secretion of HCl acid and the motility inside the stomach, so that proper food moves to the gastrointestinal tract to the next intestine part. So, which system is actually promoting proper digestion? It is actually the cholinergic system or the parasympathetic system, which actually works for the digestion of the food. So, the cholinergic drugs used are neostigmine, which is an indirectly stimulating, and bethanechol is the directly stimulating. Bethanechol acts on the acetylcholine receptors present on the parietal cells. So what happens? They get muscarinic message. So what happens? More amount of H plus and more amount of Cl minus is secreted into the lumen from the parietal cell. So more amount of HCl produced means acidity becomes increased. So pH decrease. So proper HCl production means proper digestion happens. So the proper microflora will be maintained inside the intestine. So what is neostigmine? They are indirectly acting means they are breaking the acetylcholine esterases. So the acetylcholine esterase will not break acetylcholine. Okay. So acetylcholine will be more present. So more muscarinic. So more digestive. So more parasympathetic action. Now, what are dopamine antagonists? Actually, dopamine is a sympathetic relative drug. So sympathetic relative means they will be inhibiting the digestion. So what we have to use? Dopamine antagonist. So it relays like a parasympathetic action. They increase gastric emptying. They take the food suddenly from gastric mucosa to the intestine. They increase the movement. They increase the forward propulsion. So the main drug is metoclopramide, which is a centrally acting drug, which can easily be find out that metoclopramide has a C. So it's centrally acting. And domperidone, it can also be used because domperidone is having a P, so peripheral action. So alkaline stomachics, that is Na2CO3, NaHCO3, and MgCO3. They have a power to secrete. They neutralize the hyperacidity and they can increase the motility and secretion of the stomach. Now, vegetable stomachics and bitters. Actually, the vegetable stomachics and bitters, gentian and quassia, can also start the action from the tongue itself. They stimulate the receptors present on the tongue and give the message to the body to start parasympathetic secretion, that is acetylcholine or muscarinic action. Now, histaminergics. Histaminergic means drugs which cause increase in the histamine. So, gastric acid HCl secretion increases. Whenever HCl secretion increases, the motility inside the stomach increases. So, histamine and betazole, they binds to histamine receptors and increase the H plus activity. So that more H plus comes into the lumen from the parietal cell or oxyntic cell. Now, the betazole is a pure histaminic analog used as to test the gastric secretions or achlorhydria. That means whenever a person is not having HCl secretion, we have to test it. So we are using for betazole as this test agent. Now, gastrin analog, that is increasing gastrin content. They bind to the receptors present on the gastric cell and increase H plus secretion so that proper amount of HCl is produced and digestion is controlled, and digestion will not happen any small problems. Now, antistomachics. So entirely different. Stomachics we were using to promote the digestion and promote the intestinal and not the stomach motility. What is antistomachics? They exactly do the opposite action. They decrease the gastric acidity and decrease the motility inside the stomach. So they are called gastric sedatives. They decrease the function and they give a sedative action to the gastric cells so that they will not be acting further anymore. So what are the drugs used to decrease our gastric activity? We can give anti-muscarinic so that it will having a sympathetic action. Anti-muscarinic means no muscarinic activity. So no digestive activity. Atropine, pyranzepine, oxyphenonium, dicopyronium, etc. If you are giving these drugs, the stomach activity will be decreased, the salivary activity will be decreased, the bronchial secretions will be decreased because these secretions are mainly produced due to muscarinic action. Here we are blocking the muscarinic action. So no gastric acid will be produced. Now, antispasmodics. Actually, when we are giving spasmodics means the proper digestion will occur because the intestinal smooth muscles will work according to. Whenever we are giving antispasmodics, it will decrease the activity of intestinal smooth muscles. So, peristalsis will decrease or the contraction of the intestine or the forward propulsion of the food will decrease. Actually, the morphine and pethidine has the side effect which is known as constipation. Actually, constipation is a side effect of pethidine and morphine and opioid drugs. We are using the constipation as a positive point in antispasmodics so that food will not move from stomach to intestine and the forward propulsion of food will decrease. There are many side effects for using pethidine and morphine as antispasmodics or antistomachics, but they are classified as antispasmodial action. Now what? H2 blockers. We know that proper H plus secretion is needed for the proper digestion of food and proper forward propulsion of the food from the stomach. So, whenever we are blocking the H plus secretion or the H2 blockers we are adding, it actually blocks the H plus content. That is, they block the H plus production. So, what happens? Acidity decreases. So, proper HCl will not be there. So, proper stomach motility will not happen. Now, prostaglandin analogues. Actually, prostaglandin analogues may increase the chance of constipation, like misoprostol and enprostil. They will actually decrease the stomach movement. Misoprostol will actually decrease the stomach movement. Now, alimentary demulcents. Agents which promote upper alimentary mucous membrane when irritated or inflamed. They are syrups like honey, mucilages, etc. And the local sedative used is ice and bismuth carbonate.